We all know someone who can't sit through a movie without checking their phone, who abandons hobbies faster than most people change their socks, and who seems perpetually restless even when they're supposedly having fun. But before you write them off as having the attention span of a goldfish, consider this: they might just be too smart for their own good. Yeah, you heard that right. Boredom isn't always a sign of laziness or a lack of discipline. Sometimes, it's actually a symptom of high intelligence. And if you're someone who gets bored easily, this might be the most validating thing you heard all week. The brains of intelligent people are like high-performance sports cars that need premium fuel and constant use to function properly. Except instead of gasoline, they run on stimulation, novelty, and complexity. And just like a Ferrari isn't meant to cruise at 25 miles per hour through a school zone, an intelligent brain isn't designed to coast through mundane and repetitive tasks. When you have a brain that's wired to process information quickly and efficiently, routine activities become the mental equivalent of watching paint dry. Your brain demolishes the spreadsheet task that takes your coworker an hour of focused concentration in 15 minutes, leaving you sitting there like an impatient toddler asking what's next. Studies have shown that people with higher IQs actually have brains that process information more efficiently, which means they need less time to complete cognitive tasks. And while that sounds great in theory, the problem is that when your brain finishes processing what's in front of it, it doesn't just peacefully power down. It starts looking for something else to chew on. And when it doesn't find anything sufficiently interesting, that's when boredom kicks in with a vengeance. Intelligent people are typically excellent at pattern recognition. They can spot trends, anticipate outcomes, and figure out how things work faster than average. This is fantastic when you're solving complex problems or learning new skills. But it's considerably less fantastic when you're sitting in your third meeting of the day, and you've already predicted everything everyone is going to say. Once you've identified how something functions, the mystery behind it evaporates. It's like watching a magic trick after someone's explained how it works. Sure, you can still watch it, but where's the fun? Intelligent people don't just recognize patterns quickly, they often can't help but recognize them. Their brains are constantly running in the background, making connections and identifying structures, even when they're not trying to. This means activities which might engage others for hours can lose their appeal in minutes. That new video game? Already figured out the mechanics. That TV show? Called the plot twist in episode 2. That conversation? You know where it's heading 3 sentences in. It's not that intelligent people are trying to be killjoys. Their brains just refuse to stay engaged once the puzzle has been solved. When intelligent people aren't sufficiently stimulated, they don't just feel a mild sense of boredom. Many experience something closer to actual psychological discomfort, a kind of restless anxiety that builds until they find something engaging to focus on. Think of it like this: if your brain is used to running at 80 miles per hour, forcing it to slow down to 20 miles per hour doesn't just feel boring. It feels wrong. Your mental engine starts knocking and sputtering. And this is why intelligent people often struggle with activities that others find relaxing, like meditation or just chilling. Their brains interpret understimulation as a problem that needs to be solved, not as a peaceful break. This can create a vicious cycle, because when such people get bored, they seek out stimulation, often in the form of multiple simultaneous activities, like watching TV while scrolling through their phone, while also thinking about work. This fragmented attention becomes the new normal, which raises their baseline stimulation threshold even higher. Now they need even more complexity to feel engaged, making boredom strike even faster the next time around. Intelligent people often fall into what I call the depth versus breadth dilemma. They are capable of diving incredibly deep into subjects that fascinate them, becoming quasi-experts in record time. But the catch is that once they've scratched that intellectual itch and satisfied their curiosity about a topic, they're ready to move on to the next thing. This explains why you'll meet intelligent people who have an almost comical variety of abandoned hobbies and half-finished projects. They're not flaky or uncommitted, they're novelty seekers. They got what they came for: understanding, mastery, or at least enough knowledge to satisfy their curiosity, and now their brain is demanding something new. The problem with this is that society tends to reward depth and consistency over breadth and exploration. We're told to find our passion and stick with it, to become experts in one thing rather than becoming generalists who know a little about everything. But for many intelligent people, that approach feels like intellectual suffocation. Their brain's natural mode is exploration and conquest of new cognitive territories, not settling down in one place and tilling the same mental soil forever. And now let's talk about the social boredom factor, which is probably the most awkward manifestation of intelligence-related boredom, because it involves other people's feelings. Intelligent people often struggle with small talk, repetitive social rituals, and conversations that aren't intellectually interesting, not because they don't value relationships or human connection, but because there's a difference between meaningful interaction and social autopilot. When conversations follow predictable scripts, or when social gatherings feel more like obligation than genuine engagement, intelligent people's minds start wandering. This can make them seem aloof, distracted, or even rude, when really they're just trying to figure out how to make their brains stop screaming for something more substantial to process. The most socially intelligent among them learn to mask this boredom, asking follow-up questions and maintaining eye contact, even while their internal monologue is planning their escape, or solving differential equations or writing a novel, anything to keep the brain occupied. This tendency toward boredom can actually be channeled into something incredibly productive. Many of history's greatest innovations came from people who were bored with the status quo and decided to create something more interesting. The key is learning to recognize boredom not as something to be avoided or suppressed, but as a signal that your brain is ready for something more challenging. Instead of fighting it or feeling guilty about it, intelligent people can use boredom as a compass pointing them toward growth opportunities, complex problems worth solving, or new territories worth exploring. So if you're someone who gets bored easily, maybe stop beating yourself up about it. Your brain isn't broken, it's just hungry. And in a world full of complex problems that need solving, that hunger might be exactly what we need more of. Just maybe try to finish a few of those abandoned projects first.